The sun dipped low over the red rock mesas of Monument Valley, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple. Dust swirled in the dry wind, carrying the faint scent of sagebrush and sun-baked earth. Jack Harlan knelt in the dirt, his weathered hands cradling the limp form of Clara Evans. Her denim dress, once a soft blue, was now torn and caked with grime, her face pale beneath the smudges of dirt. Her eyes fluttered, half open, searching his face as if trying to anchor herself to something real. "Stay with me, Clara," Jack murmured, his voice rough like the gravel under his boots. His Stetson cast a shadow over her, shielding her from the last rays of the dying sun. The weight of her in his arms felt both fragile and impossibly heavy, like the world had narrowed to this one moment in the vast Utah desert. Clara's lips parted, a faint gasp escaping. "Jack, I can't." Her voice was a thread, barely holding together. Her hand, trembling, reached for his chest, fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt. The silver pendant around her neck glinted faintly, a keepsake from a life that seemed 1,000 miles away from this forsaken stretch of nowhere. "You don't gotta talk," Jack said, his jaw tight. He shifted her weight, pulling her closer to keep her warm against the evening chill creeping in. His eyes scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of the men who'd chased them this far. The rumble of their trucks had faded an hour ago, but Jack knew better than to trust the silence. Out here, trouble didn't just vanish, it waited. Clara's head lolled against his shoulder, her breath shallow. They took everything," she whispered, her words jagged with pain. "My brother, the ranch, all of it." Jack's grip tightened, his calloused fingers brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I know, darlin'. I know." His voice carried the weight of a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. Clara's family ranch, the last piece of her father's legacy, had been swallowed up by a syndicate of land grabbers led by Victor Kane, a man with a smile like a snake and enough money to buy half the state. Jack had seen men like Kane before, men who took what they wanted and left nothing but ashes. He'd met Clara 6 months ago, when she'd ridden into town on a half-lame mare, her eyes blazing with defiance. She'd been looking for someone to help her fight Kane's men, who'd been burning barns and poisoning wells to drive her family out. Jack, a drifter with a past he didn't talk about, had no business getting involved. But something about Clara, her fire, her refusal to break, had pulled him in like a moth to a flame. Now, here they were, on the run, with nothing but the clothes on their backs and a stolen map tucked in Jack's vest. The map was their only hope, a crude sketch of Kane's hidden stronghold, rumored to hold the deeds to a dozen ranches, including Clara's. If they could get to it, they could expose Kane and take back what was hers. If they didn't, well, Jack didn't let himself think about that. "Jack," Clara said, her voice pulling him back. Her eyes were clearer now, sharp with urgency. "The map, you still got it." He nodded, patting the pocket over his heart. "Safe as it'll ever be." She tried to sit up, wincing as pain shot through her side. Jack eased her back down, his hand steady on her shoulder. "Easy now. You're hurt bad." "I'm fine," she lied, but the blood seeping through her dress told another story. She'd taken a bullet grazing her ribs when they'd made their escape from Kane's men earlier that day. Jack had patched her up as best he could with a strip of his shirt and some whiskey from his flask, but out here, with no doctor for miles, fine, was a long way off. "We gotta move," Jack said, his eyes flicking to the darkening sky. "They'll be back once they figure out we gave 'em the slip." Clara's hand found his, her grip surprisingly strong. "You don't have to do this, Jack. You could have left me back at the canyon. Saved yourself." He let out a low chuckle, the sound bitter. "And let you have all the fun. Not a chance." But his eyes softened, betraying the truth. He wasn't here for the fight, not really. He was here for her. The wind picked up, rattling the sagebrush around them. Jack helped Clara to her feet, supporting her weight as she swayed. Her mare, tethered to a nearby juniper, nickered softly, sensing the tension. Jack's own horse, a sturdy buckskin named Scout, stood nearby, saddled and ready. They'd been riding hard for 2 days, dodging Kane's men through arroyos and across barren plateaus. The desert was unforgiving, but it was their only ally now, its vastness hiding them from prying eyes. "Where are we headed?" Clara asked, leaning into him as they stumbled toward the horses. "North," Jack said. "There's an old trading post near the San Juan River. Friend of mine runs it, name's Eli. He'll have supplies, maybe a doctor. And he owes me a favor." Clara raised an eyebrow, managing a faint smile despite the pain. You got friends, Harlan. Thought you were a lone wolf. Even wolves need a bone now and then, he shot back, but there was no bite in his words. He helped her onto Scout, settling her in front of him so he could keep an arm around her. Her warmth against his chest was a reminder of why he couldn't walk away, no matter how much his instincts screamed to cut and run. The stars began to prick the sky as they rode, the desert stretching endlessly around them. Jack kept Scout at a steady pace, careful not to jostle Clara. The silence between them was heavy but not uncomfortable, filled with the rhythm of hoofbeats and the distant howl of a coyote. Clara's head rested against his shoulder, her breathing uneven but steady. You ever think about leaving this life? She asked after a while, her voice soft. Riding off somewhere quiet, where nobody's shooting at you. Jack's jaw tightened. He'd thought about it more times than he could count. A small cabin somewhere, maybe in the mountains, far from the blood and the betrayal that seemed to follow him everywhere. But men like him didn't get quiet lives. Thought about it, he admitted. But trouble's got a way of finding me. Clara tilted her head to look at him, her eyes catching the starlight. Maybe it's not trouble. Maybe it's you looking for something worth fighting for. He didn't answer, but his arm tightened around her, pulling her closer. The truth was, he'd stopped looking for anything worth fighting for a long time ago, until her. Hours later, the trading post came into view, a ramshackle cluster of adobe buildings glowing faintly under a lantern's light. Eli, a wiry man with a graying beard and a limp, greeted them at the door, his eyes narrowing at Clara's condition. Jack Harlan, you son of a gun. What kinda mess you dragged into my place? The kind that needs fixin', Jack said, dismounting and helping Clara down. Eli waved them inside, barking orders at a young Navajo woman who worked for him to fetch clean bandages and hot water. The post was a haven of sorts, a stopping point for travelers and outlaws alike. Shelves lined with canned goods, blankets, and ammunition filled the main room, and the air smelled of coffee and tobacco. Eli's wife, Mary, a no-nonsense woman with kind eyes, took one look at Clara and ushered her to a back room to clean and dress her wound. Jack paced the main room, his boots thudding against the creaking floorboards. Eli poured him a cup of coffee, black as tar. Kane's men? He asked, keeping his voice low. Jack nodded. They're closer than I'd like. Eli scratched his beard. Heard Kane's got a new man riding with him. Calls himself Reaper. Mean as they come. Word is, he don't leave witnesses. Jack's blood ran cold, but he kept his face stone still. Good thing I ain't plannin' on being a witness. Mary emerged from the back room, wiping her hands on her apron. She's tough, that one. Bullet grazed her, didn't hit nothing vital. She'll live, but she needs rest. Jack exhaled, a weight lifting off his chest. Thanks, Mary. The night passed in fits and starts. Jack dozed in a chair by Clara's bedside, his hand never far from the Colt at his hip. Clara slept fitfully, murmuring her brother's name in her dreams. Jack watched her, his mind racing. The map in his pocket was a ticking clock. Kane's stronghold was 2 days' ride from here, hidden in a canyon most folks wouldn't dare enter. If they could get there, they could end this. But the odds were stacked higher than the mesas outside. Dawn broke with a blood-red sky, and Jack knew they couldn't stay. Eli pressed a sack of supplies into his hands, jerky, beans, a fresh canteen. You're a fool, Harlan, he said, clapping Jack on the shoulder. But you're my kind of fool. Clara was pale but upright when she emerged, her dress patched and her eyes burning with determination. Let's finish this, she said, her voice steady. Jack nodded, helping her onto Scout. The desert awaited, vast and merciless, but for the first time in years, he felt something stronger than fear. He had Clara, and he had a fight worth winning. As they rode out, the trading post fading behind them, Jack made a silent vow. Kane would fall, or they'd fall together, but they wouldn't fall alone.